From the King James Version, I want to just lift from this section, but I want to consider the first 44 verses in today's thought for context. Those of you that are able to stand with me, please stand. From the King James Version, you will find these words, John chapter 11, verse 38 through 44. Jesus, therefore, again, groaning in himself, cometh to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. Jesus said, Take ye away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, said unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days. Jesus said unto her, Said I not unto thee, that if thou wouldst believe, thou shouldest see the glory of the Lord? Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. And I knew that thou hearest me always. But because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound with a napkin. Jesus said unto them, Loose him and let him go. Amen. I want to lift from this thought, looking particularly at verse number 43. I want to talk about come forth. Come forth. The Gospel of John stands distinct from the three other synoptic writers. They prepare a chronological narrative of Jesus' ministry, which is recorded in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. John is distinct because he focuses on the theological significance of Jesus' actions and words. John presents Jesus as the Logos, the Word made flesh. He emphasizes the divine nature and the fulfillment of God's redemptive plan. This gospel is the tapestry woven with rich symbolism and signs, and the I am statements that affirms that Jesus truly was the Son of God. This story of Nazareth in John, the 11th chapter, verses 1 through 44, it's not just a miracle, but it is a pivotal moment in the narrative, serving as a precursor of Jesus' own resurrection. And it gives a powerful illustration of his authority over life and death. My brothers and my sisters, if you haven't been living upon a rock, you can agree with me that you and I, we live in an age of unprecedented advancement in technology, medicine, and communication. We can get basically all three at the snap of a finger. Yet, despite of all of these advancements that we have at our fingertip, we find ourselves in an era of isolation, anxiety, and an existential despair. Our world is gripped by a pandemic of hopelessness, anxieties, where death, both physically and spiritually, seems to have the final word. And my brothers and sisters, I bring this point up to you today because the church too faces its challenges. Since the pandemic, there is decline in attendance, skepticism from the secular world, and the internal struggles that threaten to erode its very foundation. It seems as if the message of the resurrection, the call to come forth, is more relevant today than it has ever been before. It speaks not only to the reality of life after death, but to the possibility of a new life in the here and now, in the midst of our struggles. My brothers and my sisters, at the beginning of this pericope, this text shares with us the first point, that there is a reality of death, but there's also the presence of Jesus. You do know this passage is straightforward. Lazarus, he is sick. And his sisters, Mary and Martha, they sent word to his friend Jesus. It is simple and it's clear, yet it sets the stage of a profound theological, deliberate choice to reveal the greater identity of Jesus. When Jesus finally shows up, Lazarus has been dead, according to the text, for 4 days. Somebody say 4. A period that was very significant to the Jews, because the Jews thought that after 4 days, the soul would remain in the body just for 3 days. But after the 4th day, death was considered irreversible. Jesus steps into a situation where hope has been shattered. It had been lost to Mary and Martha. But he steps in and he comes to demonstrate that he is not just a healer. Not only is he the resurrection, but he is the life. In our lives, Reverend, what does this have to do with me? In our lives, we encounter situations that seems like they are just beyond repair. Relationships have died. Dreams have become buried. Folk that you used to get along with, you don't get along anymore. Family members that you used to hang out with, you don't hang out with no more. Church members that made you mad, said something, done something that you didn't like. They walk down one aisle, you go down another. They'll walk past you and turn their heads the other way and dare not say a word. Relationships shattered and battered. It seems as if they are dead and buried. Have I got a witness? The church today must embrace this truth, recognizing that there is no situation. Somebody said no. There is no situation too hard for the God I serve. What? Have I got a witness? They say it down in Louisville this way: just a little talk with Jesus makes it right. The church needs to recognize that there is no situation that's beyond the reality of Christ's redemptive power. Yes, my brothers and sisters, death is a reality, but also the presence of Christ. Just put Jesus in it. And I've learned to just go to sleep at night and leave it in the hands of the Lord. And if the devil bothers me just a little bit too much, my flesh would get in the way, and I have to repent, like most of you. Somebody said, keep it real. Death is a reality. That situation did die, but the presence of Jesus, he can restore and renew what you thought was lost and gone. Second thing I see in this text is the power of Jesus' command. Verses 17 through 40, the interaction we find between Jesus and Martha, it reveals a theological dialogue. Somebody said theological dialogue. Martha, echoing a common eschatological belief, she acknowledges that her brother will rise again in the resurrection. She had been listening to Jesus and she knew what he was teaching, but she was thinking about his last day. But Jesus shifts the conversation because he begins to take the focus from a distant future, and he begins to bring it into the present reality. Now, she did not understand what he said, but Jesus said it anyway. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. She did not know what that really meant, but Jesus said it anyway. And when Jesus tells you something, it is the truth. He does not lie. The one who believes in me will live, and even though they die, and whosoever lives by believing in me will never die. Now, it is a critical moment in this dialogue to help us to understand this. We must understand that Jesus used the present tense, not just merely an event, but the resurrection is a person. Lord have mercy. That's going to help somebody when you let that sink in. The resurrection was not just an event, but the resurrection is a person. Jesus said to her that I am the resurrection and I am the life. That means when I have Jesus, no matter what's going on, when I show up, because Jesus, it lives within me. Whatever is dead has to come alive. I'm going to keep saying it till you get it. He uses the present tense. He says, I am the resurrection and the life. Just think about it for a moment. What is it around you that's dead? Let me ask you this way. Who is it around you that's dead? They are physically walking around, but spiritually they are dead. Y'all ain't gonna say nothing, but I'm gonna preach it anyway since the Lord gave it to me. It's right here in the life. Your relationship has died. Get on your knees and call on Jesus. If you got Jesus in your heart, if you have Jesus in your life, it's got to come alive. Have I got a witness? Jesus. The text says he weeps at the tomb of Lazarus. This is a profound moment because Jesus has empathy and divine sorrow. His tears reveal to us this morning the heart of God. A God who is not indifferent to our pain, but deeply moved by what saddens us. Yet, Jesus does not stop weeping. Some folk just come, weep, and keep on weeping. It's just like old crying Wanda. She went to every funeral. Y'all, I think I went back too far. Y'all folks don't know nothing about Fred G. Sanford. Every time she was on her way to a funeral, Jesus was weeping. But what he does that we don't do, he was moved to action. Standing before the tomb, he commands Lazarus to come forth. In the midst of his tears, he says, Lazarus, come forth. Now this command is not a request. It is a sovereign decree that reverses the finality of death. Because Lazarus came forth, bound in grave clothes. He was a living testimony of the power of Jesus' words. My brothers and sisters, today, somebody said today, the church must reclaim the authority of Christ's command. Reclaim the authority of Christ's command. We need to reclaim it. It belongs to us. It has belonged to us. We need to reclaim it. In a world bound by grave clothes of sin, grave clothes of despair, grave clothes of misinformation and mistrust, grave clothes of death, grave clothes of stabbing each other in the back, grave clothes. We are called to speak life. Have I got a witness? We are called to speak life. I preached the whole month about watching your mouth. We are called to speak life. Somebody say, speak life. Speak life. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. We are called to speak life. When you see something dead around you, you got to speak life. Have I got a witness? Don't just talk about how dead it is. Do something. Speak life. You living in a dead situation, you got dead things around you. Speak life. Listen, you got to move to action. Let me give you this way. I can't just watch the plant wither. I just can't watch it wither away. I got to speak life. And not only do I speak life, I got to be moved to action. And sometimes we have to give it a little water. I don't know who it is around you that you need to speak life to and give a little water. Whoever it is, whatever it is, you need to be moved to action. The words of Jesus here in this text have power to unbind and set free, to call forth a new life where there has only been death. We are, my brothers and sisters, his voice. We are his hands. We are his feet. We are the people that God uses to carry on the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now I want you to notice in this text, there is a response to this resurrection. Verses 41 through 44 shares with us the conclusion of this Lazarus story. And it's both dramatic and instructive. That means it moves us by what we see, but it also informs us by what it teaches. Listen, if you please. Jesus prays aloud, not for his own sake, but so that standing by may believe that he was sent by the Father. He prays aloud, not for his benefit, but for the benefit of those that showed up. This text tells me that his prayer was important. It is a public declaration of his unity with the Father and his divine authority. When Lazarus came from the tomb, Jesus instructed those that are around him. Are y'all following me? Jesus instructed those around him to take off the grave clothes and let him go. Could you imagine just being standing around this stinking grave and Jesus saying to a man that has been in there for 4 days to come forth, and all of a sudden you see something, Brother Evans, that you never witnessed before. The man comes forth, bound by grave clothes. And he says to him, Brother Evans, Brother Price, Brother Moss, help him out. Take the grave clothes off him. Can you see them with scissors, cutting bandages, pulling things off of him? I came to tell somebody, my brothers and sisters, this act signifies that there is a communal nature of resurrection. While Jesus alone has the power to give life, it takes the community of believers to meet their responsibility for nurturing and sustaining life. The church must recognize its role in the ongoing work of resurrection. Jesus can call forth you from the grave, but we are called not only to witness the miraculous, but we are called to participate in it. Our task is to help others remove the grave clothes that bind them. Have I got a witness in the room? Our job is to help somebody that you see wearing grave clothes, to help them remove their grave clothes, because it takes a community in this resurrection building. Have I got a witness? It is our job to walk alongside of those that we know are going through a transition. I've learned after a season of investigation that people don't grow at the same spiritual level. And just because I may be on a level higher than you, it doesn't mean that through the teaching of the word and being lifted up by a brother or sister, that you will not reach that level in Jesus Christ. Have I got a witness? It takes all of us being God's disciples to help the community see the resurrection power of Jesus the Christ. Have I got a witness? There is someone in the room today that needs to come forth into the fullness of Christ by helping others do the same. Have I got a witness this morning? As we reflect on this story of Lazarus, we must ask ourselves, well, is Jesus calling us to come forth in our lives? We need to ask ourselves, in what area in our lives has death crept in? Have I got a witness here? As a born-again believer, as a member of this church, God is asking you, where will you come forth? When will you come forth and help a brother or sister that's standing in need of prayer? I heard one writer say, if I can help somebody along the way, then my living shall not be in vain. I do not know how you feel about it, but I've made up in my mind I'm going to do all I can while I can. I'm going to serve all I can while I can. I'm going to pray all I can while I can. I'm going to preach all I can while I can. Because one of these old days, preaching will be over. One of these old days, singing will be over. One of these old days, crying will be over. Have I got a witness here? I'm glad. I said I'm so glad that God gave me another chance to reflect on how I can serve a little more, serve a little better. I personally reflect You need to personally reflect on what part of your life that has died, that needs to be resurrected. Put God to action. Have I got a witness here? If you're spiritually dead, Jesus can resurrect you. He can. If you trust him and never doubt, I'm a born again believer, he will bring you out. The next thing I share, as a church family, you need to know that you need to commit to identifying and addressing the needs of those persons that need help. You need to help somebody. You need to tell somebody to take their grave clothes, take them off. You need to help them take their grave clothes off. Grave clothes of poverty, grave clothes of addiction, grave clothes of sin. You need to help somebody. Have I got a witness here? Not only that, you need to become a disciple, a follower of Jesus or Christ. Tell somebody. Take the responsibility to help somebody that don't know who Jesus is. Tell somebody that you found a man that told you everything that you ever done. Tell somebody that you found a friend that sticks closer than a brother. Tell somebody, come on forth and tell somebody Jesus is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. Tell somebody he's a doctor in a sick room. He's a lawyer in a courtroom. Tell somebody he's a way out of no way. Tell somebody he'll come in your room and while you're weeping eyes, tell somebody when your road gets rough and the going gets tough, he is the one that will come through every time. Tell somebody when the loan officer say no, when you talk to Jesus, he will work it out. Tell somebody he came down through 42 generations, healing the sick, raising the dead. Tell somebody if he did it for me, he can do it for you. Tell somebody he died. I know he died. Tell somebody on the third day he rose with all power. Tell somebody, tell somebody, tell somebody that he lives, he lives, he lives, he lives. Hunt your neighbor and say, neighbor, I know he lives, I know he lives, I know he lives. How do you know, Hunter? How do you know he lived? He woke me up early this morning, started me on my way, regulated my mind, guided my will. For 3 hours, he was right by my side. Yeah! 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 He lives! He lives! He lives! I know he lives. How do you know, Hunter? I can feel him. I can feel him moving. I feel him moving. I feel him moving. I feel him moving. Can you feel him? Can you feel him? If you can feel him, shout, yeah! 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 I double dog dare you. I double dog dare you. I double dog dare you. Call Jesus. Say Jesus. 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 The more I call him, the more I call him, the better I feel. Yeah! Yeah! Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My God, my God. I gotta quit. But every time, I said every time I think about the goodness of Jesus, my soul shout hallelujah.